Well, good day to all. This is Bill Griffith, and this is our third video with the portrait of our rancher, a good friend of mine, Steve. We hope to finish it up today. Primarily, I'm going to be working on the background and some of the details. And I hope you enjoy the video. If you do, please subscribe, press a like, and we'll get started with the adventure right now. Okay, what I was looking at, this is basically where we stopped. I did lighten up this collar area a little bit here to define it for me when I start painting it to make it more accurate with a photograph. And then also I got to thinking about, hey, my light primarily is coming in from this direction, but I've got this dark and this lighter, so I really need to kind of switch both. Because this should be kind of lighter than over here. So I'm going to do a little bit of changing in the background, and I think what I'm going to do is start over on the left side here first. And all I'm using is burnt sienna, little yellow ochre, and some ultramarine blue, and then lighten it up is what I'll be using for the background. Now, backgrounds can be changed. Obviously, if you're not happy with them, you can change them. And so I'm just going to go down through here, kind of follow the outline of the ear and the neck, and define this area a little more. Still brings out the face very bright, which is what I want. And also looking at the hat here a little bit, it seems like in the picture, this pitch right here comes down more to the center of the ear, a little closer. So I'm going to come back over here like this. And this will also allow me to basically make this edge that I'm creating right now softer. And I'll show you how we do that. This is where a lot of artists reverted back to the childhood, I guess. They started using finger painting. But a lot of your paints are not really good for you. So I would avoid using your fingers as much as possible. And this actually is fading in pretty good to this background that I established before. This kind of a buckskin color around it, which really goes with the rancher. So I'm just going to kind of fade this out here and see what happens. Now, to make this a soft edge, all I have to really do is just blend that in a little bit. Notice how that edge is kind of disappearing and not so dramatic, and that makes it a soft edge. So I don't want it to really draw the attention of whoever's looking at the painting. So I'm going to go on around here. Now I'm not sure I'm going to go all the way, but we'll see. As the painting develops, this also allows me to soften this edge more. And it's just a matter of blending a little bit of each of the pigments and tones together along that edge, so that it's not quite as strong as what it was. And I've said this many times as I've painted here, that with oils, if I'm not happy, I can go back and do it. Now, a lot of brush strokes are showing up here, and I kind of like that. But if you don't, there's lots of easy ways of doing it. You can take a little sponge and kind of smear it, or you have a paper towel, kind of blend it all together. And for example, see how this kind of fades down into the background color. I can take a paper towel and I can kind of go through here and do a little swirly type thing to blend those colors where those brush strokes don't quite show up so strong. But that's just totally up to you. If you want your brush strokes to show up, leave them on there. So I'm kind of like that. And a little bit of variance in tone is good. Because again, you know, life's not perfect. The room behind Steve here is not perfect. It's got lots of little pictures, and even the wall itself has some different tones on it from the paint jobs over the years. So I'm not going to be too concerned about that. Now right in here, this is a hard line. Do I want to keep it? No, I want to kill it. I don't want to track too much over there. So I'm going to blend this just a little bit to kind of make that a soft edge. Looks like a little bit of the pink is showing through right here, so I'm going to kill that out. Okay. I kind of like that better. Now over here, I think I want to go just a little darker, but right here on the edge, because if you think about it, the light's coming around behind him. It's probably going to be a little bit of light showing through here. So I'm going to use the same tone that I used over here. Adds consistency to the painting. And I've already had a couple say, well, what's the matter with those glasses here? Well, as I mentioned before, we're not finished with those glasses yet, because they actually overlap this background a little bit. So I'm kind of killing those hard edges down through here, because I don't want those hard edges. And that's my choice. Same thing up here. Taking out that hard edge. Now, as it moves further over, it's going to get a little darker, or at least I want to show it a little darker. So I'm going to add a little bit of the ultramarine blue, a little more, and a little more of the burnt sienna, and it'll darken it up just a little bit. As you can see, it's a little darker. But again, I want that background coming through. That's why when you get ready to do a painting, kind of think about how you want it to end up. And if you're trying to match a particular room, or you want to get a particular feeling for it, that's where the background colors start coming in. What do you want to do? Do you want a lot of detail, or just keep it kind of as this is, just colors? Or, is that color something that you want to match with your room? And you can certainly do that. Now, if you notice, this gets a little darker as it goes across this way, but I'm not going to darken this up, because it's kind of framing Steve here. Now I'm going to go back up and do a little more on the hat up here. Kind of bring it out, and I'm using the same tone that I used right here. And it also allows me to kill that hard edge. Quite a spike up there, but I'm not going to worry about it. Now it's time I sit here and think about this right in here, and I think I will go ahead and add a little bit of some of my mix in that area, and it's back into the lighter tones again. Not too much, but a little bit, and a lot of medium in this, so it tends to look a little brighter right now, but I'm going to spread it out. see what happens, and I might even use my little paper towel again here in a minute. Again, allows me to kill this edge and kind of highlights him. All of these are just thoughts as you're relaxing and having fun with the painting. Again, with oils, you've got plenty of time. If you time your watercolors or acrylics right, you can have time there too. And there's really no reason to get too anxious, and just have fun and relax. So here's my paper towel, and I want to see what happens when I kind of take some of that out. Kind of fold the tone into the background. Kill some of the paintbrush marks, because I don't like all those paintbrush marks. But again, that's me. So I'm going to come on down and I have to kind of look at what I've got, and to me it's looking pretty good. So I'm going to back away from that for just a minute. There looks like a dark area and a light area here from my angle, but it could be a matter of oils and the amount of linseed oil in the original painting, the background. And what you can do with that is, after all of this is dry, you can come back in and do what they call oiling out, where you basically just repaint it with just linseed oil, and perhaps I've seen where they add the varnish into it also, but you can't really varnish these things until they've set for quite a while. But now oiling kind of ensures you got the same amount of oil throughout the paint, and it kind of kills some of the glares here and there. So now let's go back to this shirt, and I'm looking at this, and I don't know whether I'll really do a lot to it other than maybe highlight the blue right here on the shoulders and some of the light showing through. But this just a line coming down through here suggesting the shoulder. I actually think I like that. So let me get some, make my brush just a little bit here. Let's take a look at this shoulder. And as we started off before, it is a blue shirt from the painting, but how much blue I want to bring out to it, I'm not sure. But for now, I think I'm just going to tone it a little bit. Now, understand, colors next to each other tend to impact the tone of each other. So if you look at this here, as I come up here, you see that there seems to be some coloration in here that matches the face. And that's what will happen, because light comes in from all directions, bounces off, comes back in, and it will change this color a little bit. And so right now I'm just kind of giving it a little more color. I'm painting real loose because I don't want to establish any hard lines in here that tend to kind of confuse the center of the image, which is his face. So I'm making all these lines soft. So back over on this side, kind of work his collar in a little bit because that's important. Even this pink right in here coming off of his face tends to be more realistic and actually adds a little drama to the painting itself. Again, killing all the lines. Don't want any sharp lines or hard edges, various terms. So So that kind of comes down through there like that. Kind of clean this up a little bit over here. Notice how that paint merged right there. That's again painting wet over wet. Allows you to do some of this stuff that with acrylics you'll run into some issues that you gotta really watch your timing and layering and all kinds of things. That's why I prefer oil painting. Now, I don't want to get too dramatic here, but I want to make sure they understand it's a long sleeve shirt coming down through here. And it is also blue. And the sunlight's going to be hitting this pretty strong right in there. I keep saying sunlight, it's the room light. So I do want to lighten that up just a little bit. Now all I'm really using here, this is ultramarine blue, and kind of the process of mixing the paint, it's getting some really interesting tones. So I'm going to lighten this up just a little bit. It will emphasize his shoulder. And by putting some creases in the shirt, makes it more realistic. Some of the lighter areas coming down through here. Okay, I think I'm happy over there. Now I need to do the same thing over here because the light does come down through, and you'll have a light area right here on top of his shoulder. Again, I want to emphasize that this is a blue shirt he's wearing. But I'm avoiding all the details down further into it because those details are going to just distract from my portrait itself. So I'm sitting here looking at this now, and what do I need to do? Maybe look at some, adding some of the final details. One of the big ones is the eyeglasses. Now they'll come down through here. Gotta be careful with how far I bring them out. And, you know, basically the tones. Are we going to be looking at bright, shiny glasses or more of a dark? And that's actually on the dark side, so I don't think I want to go too crazy with that one. So I'm going to use a little bit of the ivory black. A little bit of red to it, because it does reflect. Lighten it up just a little bit. And now I'm going to see what this does. Now these eyeglasses, according to the photograph, come all the way out in this area here. So I want to be careful as I come across that I'm kind of coming here, and this is still wet on wet, so if I'm not happy with it, I can take it out. I want to stop right there and say, hey, does the curve of those lenses look too much or too little or what? And looking at the lenses, I got two here. Looks like I'm out too far. So I'll go back to my background brush and I'm going to take that back out. And I'll tell you, I frequently use dirty brushes, and hey, that, to me that adds interest, so gotta blend that back in again. Alright. So this time I'm gonna bring in the eyeglasses a little closer to his face. They're pretty dark in this area here. Be careful I don't get them too dark. The eyeglass eyepieces fit right in this area, So these lenses are coming down through here real close to his face. Looking at that, it looks pretty good. Now I think these here I need to bring out just a little bit. And they were roughed in before, so I don't mind doing that. So I'm gonna bring it down just a little bit. Now I don't have any medium in this at all. These are just paint, because I want to make sure what I got before I put a lot of stuff into that. Now I think the overall size and layout of the eyeglasses seem to be pretty good. Now across the top of his right eye, it's picking up a lot of light. So they actually tend to be a little lighter across this top than I've got it. So I've got a little bit of, I think he's got a little bit of silver right here on the hinge that picks up the light. And then the top of this right here, I don't want to get too much, just a suggestion here. His eyeglasses come across that direction. A little bit of a twinkle in here, brightness, because it is reflecting the light. Jumps out at you there. And a little more right in here in the corner of his face. Right in the corner of his eyes, picking up the light. All I'm looking at right now, I could say, hey, what's he looking at? Is the photograph that I'm working off of. Now, that's the photograph I'm using, and it's pretty hard to see all of the little details in the actual glasses. So some of this is kind of the artist's prerogative, so to speak, to say, well, I think there's probably going to be some dark tones right in here. It's going to be a little bit around this hinge. Probably the inside of that one's going to be a little darker. Might be too dark, but I'll come back to if it is. A little more of a shadow under this part of his eyeglasses. Now, one thing you got to remember about oil paints is when they dry, they tend to lose a lot of their, I guess you would call it brightness. So even though these are really standing out, I think probably by the time I let it sit and dry a little bit, they're going to be a lot more muted than they are right now. These are just little small color details that tend to make it more realistic. Now, this here actually has a little silver bridge on it, but I think I'm just going to leave it with that suggestive dark line right there. Let's see here. Over on this other side, this hinge sticks out just a little bit as it goes behind and picks up his eyeglass there in the back. Add a little more sharpness right through there. I don't think it would hurt either to add just a little bit of a sparkle right there, because you do have glass. So I'm going to add just a little bit of something right here. it'll help those eyeglasses to kind of pop out a little more than they are. So I think they're coming out. So I'm going to slow down on those just a little bit and take a look at some of these other details that I want to get into. Now we're doing the details. All through this painting I kept saying, hey, don't worry about the details, you're just roughing it in. Well, now we're going a little further into it, and there are a lot of neat things about faces. I guess you'd have to say cosmetics that add character to the face. So let's see what I got right in this area, around his nose. Kind of break up that smooth surface of that nose. Hey, look at your own nose and you'll see that, hey, it's not as smooth as you think it is. So I just kind of adding some texture to it here, very lightly, nothing dramatic, because my blocking did most of what I wanted it to do, but this kind of adds a little character to it by doing some of this. Now if I get a little too light, I can just take my finger, wipe it off. So anyhow. So that's a little more realistic on his nose. Same thing down through here. Now, I'm going to use another brush to just kind of smooth that out a little bit. So it's not quite so much the more tone showing up. I wish on the video camera it would show that, but it doesn't. Okay, is there any other thing I want to look at a little bit? I think I want to see what I got over here. His little cheekbone sticks up here a little more than I have it, so I'm going to add a little more pink right here, and the red tones also tend to pull it forward, so it kind of adds a little bit of dimension to it. A little further up here, not so much, maybe a little bit right in this area. I said in the last video, I was trying to remove some of the orange tones. That's way too light. So I'm going to come back through. Take my paper towel. And I'm going to knock that down just a little bit. Yeah, there we are. And adding that pink to me also emphasizes the direction of the light coming in. Now, some of that is at the discretion, at your discretion, because in this particular photograph, he's in a room that's fairly well lit as is. And so it's kind of hard to get those shadows, but if I don't get the shadows in like I want, then what happens is I lose some of the three-dimensional character. So that's it. Adding a little bit of details tends to go a long way. That's too light. Emphasizing his nose right in this area. Blending it with a little bit of my finger. And back over on the other side, there is a shadow of his nose sitting here. Mess up his eyeglasses. It does get dark in that corner. Shadows are pretty heavy right there. Yeah. I didn't want to do that. Too dark. it does bring his lip over a little further, and it does need to be brought over just a little bit. Put a little bit of dimple right there on his lower chin. And it does have a shadow across the bottom. It's not all one color. And by doing that, I've actually added a lot of texture to it. Just a chin. Okay. I want to add a little bit of a shadow in this area. Now, I've considered putting a shadow from the eyeglass coming down through there, but those always seem to confuse me when I see them on a painting. Now, maybe they're more realistic, but I kind of avoid them because that's just my preference, and it's certainly a prerogative of anyone. Now, it is kind of dark right under this area of the mustache, so I'm going to darken that up a little bit before I finish putting all the tones in there. Alright, so add a few details to the mustache, and I think we're coming pretty close to being done. Pretty maybe a little bit of a highlight in this area above the chin. Blend it in a little bit so it's not too dramatic. Okay, as they say in all painting, you've got to come to a point that you're happy with it and you're just going to stop. Now that doesn't mean you can't come back later and keep working on it, but if it's doing what you want it to do, then move on. This area here looks like I got a couple little dogs on my background, so I'm just going to use a little bit of turpentine on my brush, turpenoid, and just kind of kill that out. just take the paper towel and wipe it down. Notice how it's gone. All right. So the last thing we got to do is put an autograph on there. Find the right brush. Here we are. And I'm going to use a tone that's pretty close to what I was painting with, so I don't create too much of a havoc. I'm going to just put it down here somewhere. As I mentioned before, usually I put a little thumbprint right there. So it's there for all posterity. So I think I'm good. Notice I haven't dated it or anything like that. I'm sure some people can sit there and look, well, why didn't he put some more white up here, or what, you know, all that kind of stuff. But I want people looking at his face, the eyes, and kind of get an idea of what the emotion and the history of Steve's face has. I mean, we're talking about ranching, we're talking about military service. There's probably lots of thoughts in there. So if you enjoyed this video, please hit like and please subscribe. And I hope all of you have a blessed day.